Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. This time we have Luke's list, which took first place at our recent LLDS, and he was playing the crazy Mekk-Knight strategy. No Sky Strikers in here, no Trickstar, just pure Mekk-Knights. With triple Avram and everything. So let's run through the list, then we'll go over the siding strategy and get on to his report. So triple Avram, double blue sky, triple purple, double indigo, 2 red, 1 yellow, 1 orange, and 1 green, and then 1 Gem-Knight lastly to go with the triple Brilliant Fusion here. Monster Reborn, Reasoning, because nobody's ever going to call the correct number for this. Soul Charge, triple World Legacy's Memory. You can summon the blue into a column with 2, and then get a double search off it, so that's kind of crazy there. Double Succession, double Survivor, this is pretty interesting, so this excavates the top 5. Cards from your deck, and if you do that then you can add a Crawler or a World Legacy card to your hand and send the remaining cards to the graveyard. So you excavate any of the World Legacy cards that are in this deck, then send the remaining, typically Mekk-Knights, to the graveyard, and that then works in combination with World Legacy Scars, which boosts your Mekk-Knight monsters, but additionally you can banish 8 Mekk-Knight monsters with different names from your graveyard and or face up from your field, send your opponent's entire hand and extra deck to the graveyard. That's kind of one of the key ways that you can work with Survivor in this. Also, this essentially just searches for any of your combo pieces with Memory and Succession, or you can search your stun cards, which we'll come on to. So Key is the first stun card. If a trap activates in the same column as Mekk-Knight, then it can be negated. This also gets back one of your banished Mekk-Knight or World Legacy cards, which is quite nice too. Then Double Whispers. So this negates spell cards that activate in the same columns as Mekk-Knights, and then a Triple Secret, which negates monsters that activate in the same column. What's the extra effect of Whispers? It targets a level 5 or higher monster, and it pluses 1000 to attack and defense, whereas as we all know, Legacy Secret just brings back a level 5 or higher monster. And then the 3 hand traps that he's running in the main are impermanents, no other hand traps for this event. For the extra deck, 1 Seraphonite, double Morningstar and double Supreme, that seems pretty reasonable given that it's pure Mekk-Knights. 1 Link Spider, which allows you to combo off with the Avram, or if you open 2 Avram. 1 Linkaribo, I don't think you can actually make this in the deck except with the Lasley, but you can then turn Lasley into Linkaribo and add back an Avram if that's ever relevant. Then Phoenix, Equimax allows you to punch for a lot of damage very quickly, similar with Deco Talker, although it does have that extra useful effect. Trisbeta obviously, and Sayuja. Then there's number 68 in here, which is a rank 8 requiring 2 level 8s, and it's essentially Floodgate for graveyard summoning decks. 1 Baguska and 1 Cowboy to steal games in time. For the side deck, triple Vanity's Fiend. Very easy to bring this out given that most of your deck is special summon. The only thing you would ever really normal summon would be the Avram. Triple Shed Ride. Triple Reboots to beat all the trap decks. 1 Order, double Evenly Match because you can very easily go second with the deck. And triple Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. So that is it for the list itself. As for the siding strategy, so his siding is as follows. For pure Sky Striker, he's putting in the Vanity's Fiends, obviously the Imperial Order and Shared Ride. When going first, just stun the opponent out of the game essentially. Taking out green, yellow, 1 key, because it's not relevant if they're not going to be playing traps. Take out the Soul Charge and take out 2 Survivor as well. Then for going second, he's instead putting in the Evenlies to out the big boards that they make. But the fact that they have to set so many cards in so many columns does mean that most of the time your Mekk-Knights will be live for special summons, so you don't really need to put much else in, and he's taking out a Soul Charge and the World Legacy key there. For against Goki, going first, putting in the Shared Rides and the Vanity's Fiend, capitalize off their plays in order to get to your hand traps basically, and stun them out of the game. Taking out the Whispers, the Key, green, yellow, and Soul Charge. Green and yellow being very easy side-out targets for this. Going second, attempts to out the board with Evenlies and Ghost Ogres, but taking out the Whispers, Key, Soul Charge, and yellow. For against Altergeist, just putting in the 3 Vanity's Fiend when going first. Taking out the Whispers and the Soul Charge seems pretty reasonable. You don't need to build up that bigger board, given that they struggle to kind of out one big monster unless they can get access to Socrates or Meliseek, which you can generally stun them out of, and even if they do out one monster, you just have several more to go. For going second, obviously putting in the reboots, taking out the Whispers and the Soul Charge. And finally for Invoke, Sky Striker, for going first he's putting in Imperial Order and Vanity's Fiend. Again, it's something where you just want to stun them out of the game, taking out Key, Soul Charge and 2 Survivor. Going second, putting in the Order and the Evenly. Surprising that the Order is coming in even then, but I suppose that the invoked version does tend to sort of rely on summoning Alistair every single turn and getting off the spell, so if they don't do that, and then Order can just lock them out of everything. So that is it for the siding strategy. As for the rounds he played, round 1 he went up against Altergeist. He actually drew this match due to a draw in time. Round 2 he went up against Danger BA and went 2-1. Round 3 against Crusadia he went 2-0. Round 4 against Invoke Sky Striker he went 2-0. In the top 4 against Danger BA he went 2-0, and in the finals he went up against Invoked Sky Striker, another 2-0, so only a single 2-1 and 1 draw from this event, so a very strong record. So as for the questions I asked him, first off I asked him how was the event. He said it was very competitive. Mostly everyone he met there were local friends, and every game was meta relevant, which essentially has him second guessing that he'd be able to win overall, but it's one of the best LLDSs that he's ever been to in terms of players. Then why did he decide to play Mekk-Knights? He intended on playing Altergeist, but after testing he decided that it wasn't a fast enough deck and he bricked a lot, and wasn't having very much fun with it, so he decided to play what he found fun. Mekk-Knights are very inexpensive and can easily bait out and get around a lot of hand traps. Then as for the deck itself, we've seen he doesn't have very many hand traps within the main, just the impermanences. So I wanted to know if he felt comfortable with just those, or if he felt like after the event maybe he needed more. He said he had a build playing 4 hand traps and he really hated it if he resolved one of them. It was very hard to pop off. So he decided to make the mad decision to take them out, because it's easier to go off against a board that actually has some kind of presence, and not many boards can actually stop you from engaging with your Mekk-Knight plays. Then also, we do see there are triple Avram here. There are some interesting plays that can be worked off this, but obviously most of you watching will probably be wondering why you would go with this level 4, very kind of useless monster just because it's a normal monster. You said he ran 3 Avram due to the deck having a hard time going first, being able to have a 1-card setup into a column and then go off was really good, and being able to go into the rank 4s as well was great. Most of the time he would search Avram due to not having used the normal summon already and just put it under another body onto the board. So you can use the Avram to go into the Link Spider and then make your plays start from there. Then I wanted to know if he ever did the 2 Avram into Spectrum Supreme play, which you can actually do, but he said going first he never ended on Supreme if he opened 2 Avram. Instead he would have ended on Morningstar as his Link 2 with 2+ monsters on the field, because you can go Avram into Link Spider, then Link Spider summon the Avram, and then you can go into Morningstar from there. And he says that he knew, if he knew his matchup, he'd also have the appropriate spell or trap or monster negation set up on the 3 columns because of that link play, but if he didn't, then he would set up the monster negation on 3 columns if he just didn't know what he was going up against. As for changes that he'd made to the list in the future, the main deck, he would maybe play with the ratios a bit. He was thinking about a new draw card coming out next set. As for the extra deck, he would change it a little bit. He only made about 6 of the cards from the whole event, and he would like to change it so that he could do something with some new cards and maybe see about some different strategies. Obviously the side deck will always change depending on the current format, and stuff that he feels is a particularly hard matchup at the time. As for the hardest and easiest decks to play against, he says that during testing he really struggled against True Draco, because if it plays a decent extra deck, then the correct timing of Apocalypse can really hurt, but overall it's a pretty fair game. He played for current meta, so against most decks it's very easy to win, being able to just summon a bunch of guys and attack over a board. Even if it's got a bunch of negates on it, it's just too strong. The easiest matchup would be the Invoked and the Sky Striker matchups, because their cards aren't big enough and their interruptions don't really do anything against the deck. As for shoutouts that Luke wanted to make, he wants to shout out Craig, his friend, who they do about 90% of the testing together, and Craig lent him the brilliant fusions for the event and helped with some of the deck choices as well. Also shoutouts to Toby, who played Danger BA and had some of the craziest games, and the Bexel and Eastbourne players who turned up and made the event even more enjoyable. So thanks very much, Luke, for sending in your list. It's very cool to see Mekk-Knights coming on as a first place list for a moment LLDS, and keep in mind this probably isn't something that you really need to change into the upcoming format, given that we expect the meta to be fairly similar, although a little bit less powerful for some of the decks that are out at the moment. Mekk-Knights could potentially be a very interesting contender in upcoming matches. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.